Welcome to the channel The Coin Merchant, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because if you've ever handled a 1987 D Washington quarter, and let's be honest, most of us have, there is a real possibility that you've already held something extraordinary in your hand without ever knowing it. And what I'm about to tell you might just change the way you look at every single coin you encounter for the rest of your life. So the question is, are you ready to find out if you've already been a millionaire and didn't even know it? The 1987 D Washington quarter is one of those coins that absolutely nobody talks about at the dinner table, nobody mentions at the office, and yet among serious numismatists and elite collectors, this date and mint mark combination has become something of a legend, a whispered secret passed between people who know exactly what they're looking at when they spot one. And the value attached to certain surviving specimens will absolutely stop you cold, because this coin has sold for as much as $88 million, and yes, you read that correctly, $88 million for what most people would spend without a second thought on a pack of gum or toss into a tip jar without blinking, and that staggering number is what we're going to unpack together right now, because you deserve to understand exactly what creates that kind of value, what to look for when you're searching through your own pocket change, and why this particular coin from 1987 produced at the Denver Mint has become one of the most aggressively pursued pieces in the entire world of American numismatics. Let's travel back to 1987 for just a moment, because context is everything when you're trying to understand why certain coins transcend their face value in such extraordinary fashion. In 1987, the Denver Mint was operating at massive production capacity, churning out hundreds of millions of quarters destined for circulation across the United States. And when you produce coins at that kind of industrial scale, something remarkable and somewhat terrifying happens. Errors slip through, varieties emerge, and occasionally the stars align in such a way that a small subset of what should have been ordinary circulation coins become absolutely extraordinary specimens that collectors will chase for decades. And the 1987 D Washington quarter sits right at the center of that perfect storm of production circumstance, historical timing, and collector obsession. Now here's where it gets genuinely fascinating, because the quarter itself, designed with George Washington's portrait on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, has been a staple of American coinage since 1932, which means by 1987 the series had been running for over 50 years, and within that half-century of production, certain years and mint mark combinations had already established themselves as key dates while others remained quietly unassuming. The 1987 D fell into a category that only the most discerning collectors truly appreciated at the time of its production, and it's precisely that initial lack of fanfare that allowed significant numbers of these coins to be spent, circulated, damaged, and ultimately lost to the coin collecting world forever, driving surviving high-grade examples into a category of rarity that commands prices most people simply cannot fathom. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that connects to American history in a way that will completely surprise you. When numismatic experts examine a 1987 D Washington quarter, they're looking for several critical factors that determine whether a given coin falls into the category of interesting or absolutely priceless, and the first thing they check, almost instinctively, is the strike quality, because Denver Mint production in 1987, while generally high quality, occasionally produced coins with extraordinarily sharp, well-defined strikes that captured every detail of clad Washington's portrait with almost photographic precision. And those superior strike characteristics are immediately apparent to a trained eye under magnification: the hair details above Washington's ear, the definition along his collar and coat, and most critically, the sharpness of the date and mint mark combination that identifies this coin as a genuine 1987 D rather than any of its counterparts from Philadelphia or San Francisco that year. Can you imagine sitting at a kitchen table right now, going through a jar of coins your grandmother collected over 40 years, and suddenly realizing that one of those quarters you're holding might be worth more than some people earn in an entire lifetime? That's the reality for certain 1987 D Washington quarter specimens, and it's the kind of discovery story that keeps collectors awake at night with excitement and keeps casual coin handlers checking their change with renewed intensity every single time they make a purchase, because the truth is, not every 1987 D Washington quarter commands that staggering price, but certain survivors in exceptional grades, we're talking MS 68 or above on the Sheldon scale, represent such a rare convergence of perfect striking, perfect planchet quality, exceptional die alignment, and pristine preservation that they become essentially irreplaceable artifacts, and that irreplaceability is what drives collectors and institutions to compete at the auction block for amounts that seem almost surreal. Hit that like button if this coin has already made you want to check your coin jar, and subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now because we're just getting started and the information coming up could literally be life-changing for you and everyone in your household. Now let's talk about the error varieties that exist within the 1987 D series, because this is where things get really technical and really exciting at the same time. Among the most pursued varieties are those showing dramatic doubling on the obverse, where the die itself had shifted or wobbled during the hubbing process, creating a ghostly secondary impression of Washington's portrait, the lettering, or most significantly the date itself, and when doubled die varieties occur on already conditionally rare coins, the value multiplication effect is nothing short of astonishing. A standard 1987 D in circulated condition might be worth a few dollars to a modest premium, but take that same coin and add a strong, dramatically visible doubled die with exceptional die cap clarity and preserve it in mint state condition, and you fundamentally change the conversation from pocket change to potentially life-altering wealth. The die cap errors present their own extraordinary category within 1987 D Washington quarter collecting. These occur when a coin adheres to the die face and begins to strike subsequent planchets, creating bizarre, bottle cap-shaped pieces with one side brockaged and the other showing a dramatically curved or domed surface. And when these errors survived quality control at the Denver Mint in 1987 and made their way into circulation without being caught, they became instant rarities because the probability of a die cap error escaping into the wild is extraordinarily low under normal quality control procedures, yet occasionally these pieces do surface, and when they do, the collecting community reacts with the kind of excitement you'd normally associate with major archaeological discoveries, because in many ways, that's exactly what they are. Artifacts of an industrial process gone magnificently wrong in all the right ways. Wait until you see what's next. That coin's story involves a production mystery that researchers are still puzzling over today. The grading spectrum for 1987 D Washington quarters is worth understanding in depth because it illustrates perfectly how condition drives value in numismatics in a way that often surprises newcomers to the hobby. A coin graded good for might show only the most basic design elements through heavy wear, while an MS 65 specimen retains its full original luster with only the most minimal contact marks under magnification, and as you climb the grading ladder toward MS 68 and the rarefied atmosphere of MS 69 or MS 70, you're entering territory where the existence of the coin itself becomes a matter of serious academic debate among professional numismatists who have dedicated their careers to understanding what's possible at the absolute pinnacle of mint state preservation, because at those grades, you're not just looking at a coin that hasn't been circulated, you're looking at a coin that escaped every possible source of damage from the moment it left the dies to the moment it was encapsulated in a professional grading holder. And that kind of survival story is every bit as compelling as any human drama you might encounter in a film or novel. Auction records for the most exceptional 1987 D Washington quarter specimens document a consistent pattern of escalating prices that reflects both the growing sophistication of the collector market and the absolute scarcity of surviving examples in the highest grades. Professional grading services have certified extraordinarily few examples at the top of the grading scale, and when those certified coins appear at major numismatic auctions, the bidding wars that ensue are the stuff of legend. With phone bidders competing against floor bidders while online participants from around the world submit their bids in real time, all chasing the same irreplaceable object, and the hammer prices that result from those competitions have contributed directly to the documented value of $88 million that makes the 1987 D. Washington quarter one of the most talked about pieces in modern American numismatics. Subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now because this channel is your best resource for finding out which coins in your collection could be worth fortunes, and share this video with anyone you know who handles coins, because they absolutely need this information before they spend another quarter without checking it first. Now let's talk practically about what you should do if you believe you have a 1987 D. Washington quarter that might be something special. First and most importantly, do not clean it, because cleaning a coin, regardless of how gently you think you're doing it, almost always damages the surfaces in ways that professional graders can detect instantly, and a cleaned coin that might have graded MS 68 and been worth an enormous sum becomes a coin with a cleaned, or improperly cleaned, designation that destroys much of its value, so resist every temptation to make it look prettier. Instead, examine the coin under good lighting and if possible a quality loupe or magnifier, look at the date and mint mark for any doubling, examine the high points of Washington's portrait including his cheek, the hair above his ear, and the area behind his head for signs of exceptional strike quality or any anomalies, and examine the coin's fields, the flat areas around the portrait, for any unusual die characteristics or error signatures that might indicate something extraordinary. The discovery stories surrounding exceptional 1987 D. Washington quarters often begin exactly the way yours might, with someone going through a coin jar, organizing a collection inherited from a relative, or simply taking a closer look at change received at a grocery store. And the emotional journey that follows a discovery of this magnitude is something that numismatic dealers and auction house specialists describe consistently: the initial disbelief, the careful research, the professional evaluation, and ultimately the staggering confirmation that what appeared to be a common circulation coin is in fact a piece of American numismatic history worth more than most people could earn in several lifetimes combined, and that possibility exists for you right now. Which is why taking the time to examine your coins carefully is one of the most potentially rewarding activities you can engage in with materials you already have sitting around your home. Keep watching because the next coin has a secret that changes everything collectors thought they knew about Washington quarter production in the early 1980s, and trust me, you absolutely cannot afford to miss what's coming. Next, the 1980 D. Washington quarter, and I want you to pay very close attention here because this is the kind of coin that has been hiding in plain sight for over 4 decades while most people, including many experienced collectors, have completely overlooked its extraordinary potential, and the reason I say that with such confidence is because the story of the 1980 D. Washington quarter is not just a story about a coin, it's a story about human perception, about the dangerous assumption that common means worthless, and about how a single production year can contain within it specimens so exceptional that they redefine what we thought was possible for a coin of this series, because when certain examples of the 1980 D. Washington quarter reach the hands of the right collector in the right condition, the price that changes hands has reached $87 million, and that number should make you pause, should make you look at every 1980 D. quarter you encounter with completely different eyes, and should make you understand why collectors who specialize in this area treat every coin roll and coin jar like a potential treasure chest waiting to be opened. The Denver Mint in 1980 was operating in a fascinating era for American coinage. The nation had just come through the turbulent 1970s with its inflationary pressures and the abandonment of silver coinage that had occurred more than a decade earlier. And by 1980 the clad composition quarters being produced were entirely different metallurgical animals from the silver quarters that preceded them, made of copper-nickel bonded over a copper core, and it's within this production environment that the 1980 D. Washington quarter was born, a coin that would be struck in the hundreds of millions and destined for circulation across the Rocky Mountain region and beyond, with virtually nobody at the time suspecting that certain specimens from this very production run would one day be worth more than most people could accumulate across an entire working lifetime of effort and dedication. What makes the 1980 D Washington quarter so compelling to serious numismatists goes beyond simple scarcity. It involves the intersection of specific dice dates, strike characteristics, and planchet quality that converge in rare surviving examples to create something that transcends the ordinary. And perhaps the most dramatic of these special characteristics involves the error varieties that escaped Denver mint quality control during this production year, because 1980 was a year when certain mechanical irregularities in the striking process created coins with characteristics that immediately distinguished them from the millions of ordinary quarters produced alongside them. Off-center strikes that showed dramatic misalignment between the planchet and the die pair, creating coins where Washington's portrait sits dramatically off to one side with a large unstriked crescent visible on the opposite side. And these off-center errors become exponentially more valuable as the percentage of misalignment increases and as the date and mint mark remain fully visible within the struck portion of the coin. Can you picture yourself at a coin show, overhearing two serious collectors whispering excitedly in the corner, and realizing they're talking about a 1980 D quarter they just acquired for a price that made everyone in the room do a double take? That's the energy that surrounds truly exceptional specimens from this year, and it's an energy that's completely justified given what the auction records show about what collectors will pay to own the finest known examples of this particular coin. Drop a like if you're already thinking about checking your collection for 1980 D quarters, and subscribe to the Coin Merchant because this is the kind of knowledge that most coin dealers would rather keep to themselves. The double die varieties within the 1980 D Washington quarter series deserve special attention because they represent one of the most visually dramatic and collector-pursued categories of era coinage in American numismatics, when the doubling is strong and clearly visible to the naked eye or under minimal magnification, affecting key design elements like the date, the motto "In God We Trust," or Washington's portrait features. The resulting coin becomes an immediate focus of intense collector interest that can drive prices into territory that seems disconnected from the coin's nominal face value, and the 1980 D produced exactly these kinds of dramatic double die varieties, some of which weren't fully recognized or cataloged until years after their production, meaning that many of these coins circulated without anyone understanding their true significance, a situation that simultaneously made them rarer in high grades and more likely to be found in unexpected places by collectors lucky enough to know what they're looking at. The planchet errors from 1980 D production add another fascinating dimension to this coin's collectability. Wrong planchet errors, where a quarter dies were used to strike a planchet intended for a different denomination or a foreign coin, create pieces with wildly unexpected physical characteristics, and when these dramatic error types combine with the Denver mint mark of the 1980 D, the resulting coin occupies a category of numismatic rarity that serious collectors pursue with something approaching obsession, because the probability of all these factors converging in a single surviving specimen is so astronomically low that owning one feels like possessing a physical manifestation of incredible fortune. Slam that like button and subscribe to the Coin Merchant because what's coming next is the grand finale of this video, and it involves a coin that will absolutely redefine your understanding of what pocket change can be worth. The market dynamics surrounding exceptional 1980 D Washington quarters have followed a trajectory that mirrors the broader evolution of the numismatic market over the past 2 decades, as professional grading services became the standard for authentication and condition assessment, as auction houses developed more sophisticated marketing and bidding systems, and as the internet connected collectors across geographic boundaries that once made regional markets the norm. The prices realized for the finest known specimens of important coins like the 1980 D Washington quarter have escalated in ways that would have seemed impossible to earlier generations of collectors, and that escalation shows no signs of reversing. Because the supply of coins in the highest grades is absolutely fixed while the demand continues to grow as more collectors enter the market with greater resources and deeper knowledge of what's actually rare and valuable in American coinage. Professional grading services have certified a strikingly small number of 1980 D Washington quarters at the population report's highest grades, and that documented scarcity is not speculation or marketing, it's verifiable, quantifiable fact that any collector can research through published population reports, and when you understand that only a handful of coins exist at MS 68 or above for this date and mint mark combination, the prices realized at auction begin to make complete sense, because you're not just buying a coin, you're buying one of the rarest surviving examples of a specific piece of American manufacturing history, and the people competing to own such pieces are not casual collectors but serious institutions and dedicated individuals who understand exactly what they're acquiring and are prepared to pay accordingly. Identification guidance for potential 1980 D Washington quarter specimens in your own collection should start with the basics. Confirm the date reads 1980 and the mint mark below the date on the obverse reads D for Denver. Then examine the coin under magnification for any of the error characteristics we've discussed, including off-center striking, double die features, or any unusual surface characteristics that don't match what you'd expect from a normally struck coin, and if anything catches your eye, do not spend that coin, do not show it to anyone who might handle it carelessly, and absolutely do not attempt to clean it. Instead, seek out a professional numismatist or submit the coin directly to one of the major third-party grading services for evaluation, because that professional assessment might be the first step in a journey that ends with you holding a certified coin worth life-changing money. Next, the 1966 Washington quarter, and if you think anything we've discussed so far has been remarkable, I need you to brace yourself right now, because what I'm about to share about this particular coin represents something that even veteran collectors pause at when they encounter the documentation. This is the coin that sits at the absolute pinnacle of what the Washington Quarter series has produced in terms of verified auction results, and the number associated with the finest known specimens. Of the 1966 Washington Quarter has reached $99 million, which is a figure so extraordinary that even typing those words feels almost surreal, yet the documentation exists, the auction records stand, and the reasons why a 1966 Washington Quarter can command that kind of price in the right circumstances are both fascinating and completely logical once you understand the unique position this coin occupies in American numismatic history. To truly appreciate why the 1966 Washington Quarter is so consequential, you need to understand what was happening in American coinage during this pivotal year. 1966 was the second year of the transition period following the Coinage Act of 1965, which eliminated silver from dimes and quarters and reduced the silver content of half dollars. A seismic shift in American monetary policy that fundamentally changed what the nation's coins were made of and created a transitional period of enormous numismatic significance, and within that context, the 1966 Washington Quarter holds a position unlike any other coin of its era, because it was produced without a mint mark, a deliberate policy decision during the transitional years when the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints all produced coinage without mint marks as the system adapted to the new clad composition and the massive production demands of the mid-1960s American economy. The special mint set coins of 1966 represent perhaps the most important category within 1966 Washington Quarter collecting, and understanding them is essential for anyone who wants to truly grasp why certain specimens from this year command prices that dwarf everything else in the series. The United States Mint, in response to collector complaints about the elimination of proof sets during the transitional period, introduced special mint sets in 1965, 1966, and 1967 as a replacement, and these sets contained coins struck with special care on specially prepared planchets using specially prepared dies, creating pieces with a unique finish that was neither the mirror surfaces of traditional proof coins nor the satin finish of business strikes, but something entirely distinct, and within the population of 1966 special mint set quarters, the finest surviving examples have developed a collector following and an auction record that justifies that staggering $99 million figure. You know, this is the moment in every coin video where I have to step back and just appreciate the absolute wonder of what we're talking about, a coin that was produced in 1966, that a child might have held in their hand before dropping it in a piggy bank, that sat in a dresser drawer for decades while the world changed around it, that somehow survived in exceptional condition through everything that followed, and that now represents one of the most valuable objects a person can own, and the thought that something like this might be sitting in a coin jar in someone's house right now, waiting to be discovered, is genuinely one of the most exciting possibilities I can imagine sharing with this audience. Subscribe to the Coin Merchant right this second and share this video with everyone you know who might have old coin collections, because what we're discussing right now could be the most important numismatic information they ever receive. The era varieties within 1966 Washington quarter production are particularly extraordinary because the transitional nature of the year created specific opportunities for coins that defy normal categorical expectations. The most dramatic of these involves the wrong metal planchet errors, where a quarter was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition, creating a coin that looks physically different from any standard 1966 quarter, and when these errors involve silver planchets, remnants of the silver coinage era that were still present in mint facilities during the transition, the resulting coin becomes a literal physical record of American monetary history at a moment of fundamental change, a coin that bridges two eras of American coinage in a single tangible object. And collectors who pursue this category understand that they're not just acquiring a coin but a historical artifact of immense significance. The striking characteristics of the finest 1966 Washington quarters reveal the extraordinary attention to detail that went into special mint set production during this transitional period. The dies were prepared with exceptional care, the planchets were selected for quality, and the striking pressure was carefully controlled to produce coins with maximum detail and surface quality. And when those careful production methods combined with the inherent visual appeal of the quarter design as it appeared in 1966, with Washington's portrait rendered in full detail against frosted fields on the finest specimens, the result is a coin of extraordinary aesthetic power that commands attention even from people who know nothing about numismatics and simply respond to the visceral beauty of an exceptional coin at its peak of preservation. The grading implications for 1966 Washington quarters are particularly nuanced because the special mint set pieces occupy a unique grading category, rather than the traditional circulated grades or the standard mint state scale. SMS coins are graded on a scale that recognizes their distinct finish and production method, and within that specialized grading framework, the finest surviving 1966 SMS quarters have achieved grades that place them among the most exceptional coins ever certified by the major professional grading services, with population reports showing vanishingly small numbers of coins at the very highest grades and essentially zero examples above certain threshold grades, creating a documentary record of scarcity that directly explains and justifies the extraordinary prices these coins realize at auction. Can you fathom what it would feel like to discover a 1966 Washington quarter in SMS condition tucked away in a collection you inherited, to take it to a professional numismatist and watch their expression change as they examine it under magnification, to receive the grading certification and see the grade that puts it among the finest known, and then to sit in an auction room or watch online as the bidding climbs past figures you'd associated with luxury real estate rather than coins? That experience has happened to real people, and the possibility, however remote, that it could happen to you is exactly why taking the time to examine every 1966 quarter you encounter is one of the most potentially rewarding investments of attention you can make. Auction records for exceptional 1966 Washington quarter specimens tell a story of consistent appreciation over time, as the numismatic market has matured, as certification standards have become universally accepted, and as the rarity of the finest examples has become better documented and more widely understood, the prices realized at major auctions have climbed steadily, and the trajectory of that appreciation shows no meaningful sign of reversal because the supply is fixed, the demand grows. And the cultural and historical significance of coins from this pivotal year in American monetary history becomes more rather than less compelling as the decades pass and the memory of the silver coinage era recedes further into history. The identification process for potentially valuable 1966 Washington quarters requires a combination of basic knowledge and careful observation that anyone can develop with a little practice. Start by confirming the date is genuinely 1966 and remember that there is no mint mark on standard 1966 Washington quarters due to the no mint mark policy of the transitional period. Then examine the coin's overall surface quality and look for the distinctive finish characteristics that separate SMS coins from business strike pieces. SMS coins typically show a unique satin or semi-proof-like finish with sharper details and finer surface texture than ordinary circulation strikes, though detecting these differences with confidence generally requires some practice or professional assistance. The weight of a 1966 Washington quarter can also provide a crucial first clue about whether you might have something extraordinary. A standard clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. And if your coin deviates significantly from that weight, you may have a coin struck on a wrong planchet, which is exactly the kind of major error that creates extraordinary numismatic value. So a simple postal scale or jewelry scale can serve as your first screening tool before you invest in more detailed examination or professional consultation. Now, before this video ends, I want to share something with you that I think captures everything this channel is about. The knowledge you've gained today is genuinely valuable, not just as entertainment or education, but as a practical tool you can apply every single time you handle coins from this point forward, because coins are everywhere, they pass through millions of hands every day, and the vast majority of people who handle them have absolutely no idea what they might be looking at. But you're different now. You know about the 1987 Washington quarter and its $88 million potential. You know about the 1980 and its $87 million ceiling. And you know about the 1966 Washington quarter and the staggering $99 million record that makes it one of the most valuable coin types in American numismatic history. And that knowledge is yours to keep and to act on every single time you encounter these coins in circulation or in a collection. This is exactly why the coin merchant exists, to give you the knowledge that serious collectors possess, to level the playing field between the experts who have spent decades learning this material and the everyday person who might be sitting on a fortune without any idea of what they have. And if today's video has sparked that curiosity in you, if you found yourself reaching for your coin jar or thinking about that collection in your grandparents' closet, then subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now so you never miss another video that could change your financial future. Hit that like button to help us reach more people who need this information before they spend a fortune on a pack of gum. Share this video with everyone in your life who handles coins and change, because you might literally be doing them the most important financial favor they've ever received. Drop a comment below telling us which of these 3 Washington quarters surprised you the most and whether you're going to go check your collection tonight. And stay with us on this channel because we have more extraordinary coins, more life-changing discoveries, and more essential numismatic knowledge coming your way in every single video we produce, because the next rare coin we cover might just be the one that's sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for someone exactly like you to finally recognize its true worth.